Hello everyone, welcome back to Ruxin Sports, the channel where I am reviewing many sports things, talking about sports and many other things related to sports. Yeah, a lot of times saying sports. But basically, right now, what we're currently doing is weekly checking out the NFL picks for the week. I'm reviewing the last week of games. So let's get through it and see how I did. So this week I went 9-7. So I'm gonna show you guys that right here. 9-7. My overall is 26-22. So we're 4 games over 500. Not amazing, but not horrible. I wish we hadn't missed the first week because the percentage is so low. If we had the first week of games, then we'd probably be a lot higher, being over 500, maybe 60th or 70th percentile, which isn't amazing, but we got some room to grow. Let's go over what happened. So the first game on Thursday looked like an absolute lock the whole way, and then the Cardinals actually made it a game. They tied the game at the end. The Seahawks let them back in it somehow. It felt like the game should have been over. There was that, I believe they called holding on that touchdown by Charbonnet that would have put it away, and then they ended up kicking a field goal, and the Cardinals scored twice in a row. But the Seahawks still barely pulled it off and won the game. Not only did they were underdogs, and they won the game by 3. So that was a great way to start the week. Then we go to the Dublin, Ireland game where, the Vikings, I had hope. Carson Wentz, I know it was Carson Wentz. I'm not a huge believer in the Steelers yet. I think I picked it for 8 wins on the season. They already have 3. So it looks like they might be able to eclipse that, but I'm still not 100% bought into them being a great team. Aaron Rodgers is old. At any point, he could go down, and then they're playing their backup. I think they have Mason Rudolph, which was on my Titans last year, and believe me, he is not a good quarterback. So that I'm not completely bought in, but they did look pretty good, especially if you had Kenneth Gainwell. But if you got screwed in fantasy because you had Jalen Warren in your starting lineup and they didn't announce it till like Sunday morning, it's an 8:30 Central start, 6:30 over on the Pacific time. So a lot of people just completely missed it, left Warren in. Luckily, I checked 5 minutes before, picked up Gainwell, he scored 28 fantasy points. So that was great. Then we have the Browns and the Lions. Felt really good about this pick. Lions minus 8.5. It's a huge spread, and they absolutely dominated, just like we thought they would. They won by 24 points and locked in a win. 2-1 to start. Then the Chargers. The Chargers. Not only did they not cover 5.5, they lost on Jackson Dart's first start. Wow, not a good performance from the Los Angeles Chargers, though they have had a ton of offensive line injuries. They had the injuries, not energies. One injury before the season that was a big injury for their offensive line. Then Joe Alt gets hurt this week. They are really decimated when it comes to injuries. They've got the defensive injuries as well. So it's going to make it harder to pick their games because they have so many guys down. And you could tell during the game that the offense just wasn't the same. So the Giants get their first win. Impressive. I was not expecting that. The Falcons, thank goodness. After the 30-0 loss, only 28% picked this correct. So it shows how many people were like, oh, they lost 30-0. The Panthers, this team sucks. That was my whole pick, was everyone's going to overreact. It's going to be, oh no, the Falcons suck. They've got 2.5 points at home, which is ridiculous because at home they're a much better team than on the road. And I figured they would bounce back. You're not just going to lose 30-0 as a pretty decent team. No matter how bad that Carolina game was, the team overall has talent. They've got some really good players. They're going to bounce back, especially since a backup quarterback was playing Marcus Mariota. And they definitely did. They scored 34 points. They looked a lot better, and they covered that 2.5, the opposite 2.5, reverse 2.5. So easily covered on that. So they not only covered and won the game. Then the Patriots, same thing with them. I figured Carolina, they won 30-0. Everybody's going to overreact. Oh, Carolina's good. They won 30-0. But they only had like 200 and some yards of offense in that game when they won 30-0. They're not good. They still suck. Like that was my whole thought process, and I was definitely right. The Patriots destroyed them. I wasn't sure about the Patriots, but they're definitely better than the Panthers. Then we had 2 more games. I still don't know why the Eagles keep getting like such low spreads. And then this next week, we're going to see that I think they're only 4.5 point favorites this week at home. They are one of the, if not the best teams in the NFL. Why are they only 3.5 point favorites? I love the Bucks as much as the next guy, and they almost made a comeback because the Eagles had 0 completions in the second half. I think that's a big part of why the Eagles are not getting as much respect as you might think, is they are boring. Like, don't get me started on the tush push. Jalen Hurts is throwing for like 8 completions. AJ Brown gets 2 fantasy points a game. They are boring. They're not interesting. Saquon Barkley's great. He didn't even have a good game. They are not a fun team to watch. I think that's why people don't want to pick them. They want to pick Baker because Baker is so much fun to watch. He's an awesome quarterback coming back and winning in the clutch. But in reality, the Eagles are just better than most other teams. So I'm going to continue to pick them until they blow it. That was an easy win. Oh boy, my Titans. My Titans. 26-0. They lost to an 0-3 Houston Texans team who can't score. 26-0. Now, the Texans do have a good defense. The reason I went with the Titans is 6.5 is a lot of points for a team that can't score points. Well, if you're playing against the Titans, you can score points. And all you have to do is score 7 points to cover when you don't score any points. Unbelievable season going on for the Tennessee Titans right now. They are by far the worst team in the NFL. Even the Panthers are better than them. I mean, they have a huge 30-0 win. We couldn't dream to win like that. Disgusting performance, horrible coaching, awful players. I still like Cam Ward, even though he scored 0 points. I'm not out on him yet. I mean, with what he's playing with, what is he supposed to do? So, horrible, horrible game if you're a Titans fan like me. This one I was very happy with, though it almost got covered. So the Saints were in the game. It was like 14-10. Then it was like 21-10. The Saints scored a touchdown. Maybe went for 2. I don't remember exactly what happened. They scored a touchdown again to go up. It was like 22-21. They reversed the call. They end up kicking a field goal, so it's 21-19. Bills go score, get a 2, I think, kick a field goal. They actually had a chance to score another touchdown and cover the 15.5. I was sweating it out. I'm like, there's no way. After they were literally ahead, but then they took the touchdown away, they're going to lose by more than 16 points. Luckily, they didn't, and they covered that 15.5. 15.5 is a ridiculous number. I don't care how good the Bills are. It's going to be hard to lose that big in the NFL. And I think the Saints, while not a good team and probably one of the worst teams in the NFL, they are pretty frisky. Like they're gonna give you a game. They're not gonna lose by 40 points like the Panthers or the Titans or something like that. They while lost by 12, it was at the Bills, one of the best teams. I think they played pretty well for what they have. The Colts, this was absolutely devastating. Such a devastating loss because the Colts were in this game the whole time. It was back and forth, back and forth. That absolute awful Mitchell. Amazing 80-yard touchdown where he catches, he spins by the guy, he's running down the sideline, he's about to go in, he pulls the ball out in front of him and loses control of it and just throws it out of the back of the end zone. So instead of 7, it's a reverse touchback going the other way. Completely lose 7 points. They called off another one, Jonathan Taylor run in. They had 14 points that easily should have, well, that especially that 7, but 14 points that could have been on the board. Then they give up an 88-yard touchdown. It's a tie game, 2020. The Rams kick a field goal for the win. Colts still cover. Instead of that, they're like, no, how about we just give up an 88-yard touchdown to end the game? Don't cover. So, felt like a really bad beat on this one. I felt like the Colts was a good pick there and just got really unlucky. The next one's still another team that I don't believe in yet, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have looked pretty good, but there are times the turnovers, I mean, they're still going to give you a chance in the game. And the 49ers were terrible. Purdy was so bad during this game, and they were still in the game. They had a chance to win the game, and they didn't. I mean, the Jacksonville, to their credit, held off and won, but I'm not bought in on the Jags yet. I mean, it was a good win in San Francisco, but San Francisco's banged out. Everybody's hurt except somehow McCaffrey is still playing. I am not bought in on them yet, though they are 3-1, and they're in a bad division, so they're probably going to win a lot of games this year. Wow, was this ugly. Chiefs and Ravens, like literally the game was over before the fourth quarter. I remember I just switched the channel. I have all the games up, but I switched it over, like started listening to another game because the Chiefs were the Chiefs. And I kind of wish I'd picked the Chiefs because they're underdogs at home, but yeah, well, the Ravens, I figured, look, they just lost. They're 1-2. They blew a big game. Henry's going to go off. They have so many injuries on defense, and the Chiefs looked absolutely awesome. Getting Xavier Worthy back was huge. He looked so good, and it's going to be really hard to pick the Ravens in the future with all these injuries. Lamar is still questionable. I think he's going to play, but the defense is just banged up. I think the Chiefs are officially the Chiefs again. They look really, really good. 37 points, and it's going to help when they get Rashee Rice back as well. So very cool to see that. Bears and Raiders, we got lucky. They blocked a field goal at the end. They definitely could have lost this. The Bears are pretty hard to watch, to be honest, sometimes. The Raiders are even harder to watch. So that was an ugly, ugly game that luckily they covered because they hit that field goal. They lose by 2 and don't cover. So it could have gone either way. Packers, Cowboys. Oh my goodness. I think I said I said something crazy. Like there's absolutely zero chance that the Cowboys win this game. Well, they didn't win. They had about 20 chances to win. They tied. And this is where I need to kind of have a little mini rant about the overtime. They just changed the overtime rules. So everybody gets a chance to score a touchdown. Like college, sort of, except for you have to go the whole field. Well, the problem is they've lowered the time to 10-minute quarters. So The first drive takes 7 minutes, and the Cowboys just kick a field goal. They even score a touchdown. 7 minutes. All of a sudden, there's 3 minutes left in the overtime. The Packers run out of time and kick a field goal to tie because there's no time left. Can we get back to 15-minute quarters? Like, is it going to take that much longer? Yeah, it'll take 5 minutes of game time, so 20-ish minutes. Is that really a big deal? Is that really a big deal? Can we get the 5 minutes back so people can actually have like real drives and not have like 20-minute drives? You might say, well, just play better defense. I guess that is true, but just it feels so limiting. Like it's weird. I feel like going first is actually an advantage versus taking it second like the Packers did, because you have all 10 minutes to work with and you just drive down the field as long as you want. The Packers got it and they had to play like 2-minute offense the rest of the way. Very interesting. And the Packers maybe not as good as we think. Cowboys maybe a little better than we think. I think their offense is pretty legit. The defense is still terrible, but the Packers, their defense we thought was good. I don't know. Very interesting. Jets and Dolphins. The Dolphins 1-3. Pretty decent game. The Jets, I think, are terrible. I don't know if that really says much for the Dolphins, except they're not like one of the absolute worst teams. I think they're probably bottom 10, but they're definitely better than the teams like the Jets, the Titans, the Saints, all those different teams. And the offense could still score some points. Now, they just lost Tyreek Hill for the year, so that's definitely going to hurt. But they did look pretty decent. So it's going to be hard to pick them with no Tyreek. The Jets, I don't know if you can ever pick them at this point. They are really terrible. Broncos-Bengals was the last game, and speaking of terrible, oh my goodness, the Bengals might be down there with the worst teams in the league without Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase, if you have him in fantasy this year, absolutely brutal. What do you have, 4.8 points in half PPR, in PPR maybe like 7.8 or something, 7.3. He was so bad. They just can't move the ball. They can't move the ball. The offensive line's always been terrible. That's why Joe Burrow's always hurt. Well, now they have a backup quarterback who's no good with that terrible offensive line and a terrible defense. That team is awful. Really bad. Denver's not even that great, in my opinion. I think they're probably in the middle of the pack. They're okay. They're not bad. And they just dominated this game. So very interesting. It's going to be really hard to pick this week, I think. So let's go to week 5. Week 5, I've kind of looked through these a little bit and kind of know what I'm going to pick. San Francisco and the Rams. San Francisco's pretty beat up. The Rams are my pick to win the division right now, so I'm kind of rooting for them. It's a tough division because the Seahawks are pretty good. Arizona's not horrible. They're 2-2. I think they're the worst team, but they're not horrible. The 49ers, I'm not feeling too good about them after last week. Now, maybe now is where they bounce back, but with so many injuries, it's not really feeling too promising. I'm sticking with the Rams this week because the Rams have been pretty impressive. We're going to go -5.5. The next game, the Vikings and the Browns. This one's in London, I believe. So the Vikings had to stay there. Wait, no, Dublin, right? It was in Dublin. So I think they're still in Dublin, right? Or are they in London? They're somewhere. They're somewhere in Europe. I know that for sure. This is a terrible game. We have Carson Wentz potentially with, I think they have 2 offensive line injuries, so they're not going to be great. Then the Browns, who they're starting Dylan Gabriel. That is why I'm not picking them. I am not picking Dylan Gabriel in the first start. Now, I said that about Jackson Dart. Look what happened. They won. And the reason was offensive line injuries for the not anymore. They're now Los Angeles Chargers. That was why. Well, they have offensive line injuries, so maybe that's the case. I cannot speak. But Dylan Gabriel's 5'11", and he's shorter than that. He's tiny. He's absolutely tiny. There's no way he's going to go to a foreign country, start his first game, and beat the Vikings. It's just not going to happen. Minnesota -3.5. Raiders at the Colts. Raiders have looked horrible so far this year. The Colts have looked good until last week when they looked okay and then made some really stupid mistakes that lost the game for them. This is a tough one because 6.5 is a lot of points. The Raiders are going into the Eastern time zone on a 12 o'clock game. So that is usually pretty tough for those West Coast teams. They're not all the way west, but they're pretty far over there. I just don't have a good feeling about the Colts this week, though they might want to get a little bit of a bounce back. And if the Raiders lose this game by more than 7, I think we can basically declare their season over. So that's why I kind of feel like the Raiders are going to be in this game, and they might not win, but they're going to be, lose by 3, something like that. So I'm going to go with the Raiders. Geno has got to be better than what he's been. We'll see what happens in that one. I'm not 100% confident on this one. It's pretty tough. Not many people are picking the Raiders, which makes me feel good about it because you know how sports betting goes. It's always the team you're not expecting. Next up, Giants and Saints. And look at this. A lot of people are picking the Giants after their big win. The Saints are -1.5 at home. Spencer Rattler has never won a game in the NFL. I think he's 0-10 or 0-11. The dude has never won. The Giants are expected to win. Jackson Dart, a week of film on him. They got Scattaboo. No Malik Neighbors out for the season. I was leaning Giants, but now that I see so many people are picking them, it feels like an overreaction from last week where they won a big game at home. They're now going on the road. This is a rookie quarterback on the road in New Orleans, which probably has a decent environment for a bad team. Like for a bad team, they actually probably have some fans that are going to show up. Spencer Rattler, this is like his only chance to win a game. And if they're going to win one, it's going to be this one. They've been frisky. I'm actually going to pick the Saints. I'm flip-flopping with what I was going to say. I actually like the Saints. Not a lot of people are picking them. They got to cover 2, which is a little scary, but they have the home field advantage. They have an actually okay team. I don't think they're the worst team in the league. We're going to see if Jackson Dart can do it 2 weeks in a row with some film coming this week. Dallas Cowboys and Jets. The Jets have looked awful, awful, awful. They're going to be able to score this week. If you have Justin Fields in fantasy, this is a week to get excited. I do in my Dynasty League. So I'm excited against this Dallas defense. It's been absolutely terrible. They gave up 40 points this week. But the Dallas offense is pretty good. And we saw what Miami did to the Jets. They dominated. So as much as I want to pick the Jets at home, it's got to be the Cowboys. I know everyone's picking them. That's just how bad the Jets are. This will definitely be a Cowboys game where they lose by 20 somehow. But let's go Cowboys on that one. Denver and the Eagles, already referenced this earlier. Denver and the Eagles, they are only 4.5-point dogs in Philadelphia. I don't even know how this line is possible. When I first heard this game, I thought it was going to be a 7.5-point line. Somehow the Eagles are 4.5-point favorites. This team wins every week. This is at home. This team has been disrespected by the media left and right. They're mad. People don't like their tush push. They're mad. People are talking about them 0 completions. This team is not going to take you lightly, even though they're 4-0. Denver, they're a legit team. But 4.5 against a 4-0 Eagles team seems absolutely ridiculous to me. I'm definitely taking the Eagles this week. I would not be surprised if they win this by 14. The problem with the Eagles is they're a great first half team, and then they like to let you back in the game and then maybe win by 3 or whatever. But I can't pick Bo Nix in Philadelphia for the reason of he might backdoor cover. I'm not going to do that. Eagles, I'm sticking with them as long as they give me these 4.5, 3.5-point lines. If they're not making it 7.5, I'm not considering anyone else. The Eagles are the best team in the NFL right now. I'm picking them. Dolphins and Panthers, 2 bad teams. I think the Panthers being favored against anybody except like the Titans, which I do think they might play them this year, is ridiculous. The Dolphins, while they don't have Tyreek Hill, it is in Carolina where they won 30-0. So I guess that's why they're getting they're 1.5, and the Dolphins are getting points. But this does not feel right for the Panthers to be favored against anybody after last week losing like 44-12 or whatever it was. It feels like it should be the Dolphins. I could definitely see myself, though, on Sunday watching this game and going, oh my gosh, here we go. There's the home team Panthers. The Dolphins don't have Tyreek. They got nobody to throw it to. They have Waddle, so hopefully you can show up. They still have A-Chain. I'm sticking with the Dolphins. I just think the team is better. Carolina is at home, so you never know. It seems like they are a much different team at home. They actually play competitively, but I'm going with Dolphins here. Now we're going to go into Houston Texans and Baltimore Ravens. This one is super hard because the Texans have had one good-looking game. It's against the worst team in the NFL, the Titans. The Ravens have looked awful basically the whole year. Everybody's hurt on defense. The Texans can't really score, though. Even against the Titans, it was 12-0, I think, at the fourth quarter. They scored 2 garbage time touchdowns at the end to make it look big. They really did not score that well on the Titans, and the Titans aren't even good. So it feels like the Ravens will be able to outshoot them with Derrick Henry and with Lamar. You can't go 1-4. Season's over if you're 1-4. 3.5 is pretty low. I'm going with the Ravens. I think they're going to bounce it back this week. If they lose this game, you could pretty much put the nails in the coffin. It's over. Then the Titans and Cardinals, and oh my goodness, it's a 7.5-point spread. It was 9.5. There are some people moving toward the Titans. And the problem with this is the Arizona Cardinals only have to score 8 points to cover this. Because if the Titans can't score more than 0, it's going to be easy to cover. And the Cardinals are on a 2-game losing streak. So you'd think that they'd be able to, actually show up for once. Though I don't like the Cardinals. They are a team that I think is very overrated at the moment. The problem is picking the Titans is going to kill me. I can't do it anymore. I can't pick them. They're terrible. The Panthers backdoor covered on the Cardinals. I don't think the Titans can do that. I don't think they can. So I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to pick the Titans. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it again. Bucks at Seahawks. Bucks are even more banged up. Mike Evans is still hurt. Baker Mayfield's awesome. Seattle, 3.5 points at home. This is what is this? A Sunday afternoon game? So Tampa Bay is traveling all the way to Seattle, 3 o'clock. They got to go all the way to the West Coast. This is such a tough game because Tampa's been so tough. Seattle's been pretty impressive as well at 3-1. They've had some really, really strong games, though they like to win games by 3 points. They like to make games close. And the Buccaneers, if anything, are not going to get blown out. I like Seattle, but I don't really like them at 3.5 points, which makes it really hard. This is a tough one. I actually didn't make this pick ahead of time, so now I got to decide live. I think the Buccaneers could win the game, so because of that and they're getting points, I'm going to take them, and it looks like everybody's taking them as well, which worries me. Detroit and the Bengals. The Bengals just looked awful. It's at home, 10.5 points. Browning is still starting. I mean, I can't pick them. After what I just saw, I mean, everybody else is picking them too, but I'm going to stick with the crowd. Detroit Lions. That should be dominant. Browning is really bad. He's really bad. And I don't even know if he's really bad, if it's the line plus him is really bad. That combination is really bad. If he had a good offensive line, I think he'd be fine, but that's tough. Commanders and Chargers. Now, this is a really, really interesting one. Everyone's going with the Chargers, but the Chargers have 2 main offensive linemen, maybe even 3, but 2 for sure. 2 of their huge offensive linemen out. And while they are at home, Washington is a pretty awesome fan base. They're going to travel. There's going to be some people there. And Jane Daniels is coming back this week. He hasn't looked great in the 2 games he played. He's been hurt. But if him and McLaurin are back, him and McLaurin and Debo show up in Los Angeles, play a for real game, because you can't go 2-3. I mean, you can, but it's going to be really tough. The Chargers at 3-1, I think they're still a little, I mean, that New York Giants performance was not pretty. They're probably going to try to bounce it back here. I think I'm going to go with Washington this week. I like the Chargers, but those offensive line injuries are definitely going to matter, and we saw it in the Giants game. So let's go Commanders, who are also pretty banged up. It's going to be an interesting one. I like the points here. Should be a close game. Patriots, Bills, 7.5 for the Patriots at the Bills. The Bills are a really great team. The Patriots looked really good, really great last week. Am I overreacting to think the Patriots could keep it within 7.5? The Bills it was almost 7.5 against the Saints, so they probably underestimated the Saints. Against a division opponent, the Patriots, they're probably going to want to win this one pretty big. Drake May in Buffalo in a night game. This is a real primetime spot. Is he going to be able to show up like he did last week, or is he going to do something really dumb like he tends to do in big games or in games in general? He's still a young quarterback. Patriots, Bills. I'm going Patriots. 7 points. They could lose by a touchdown and still cover this. Let's see if they can do it. Final game, Monday night. Chiefs, Jaguars. This one is pretty easy for me. As I said earlier, I don't believe in the Jaguars. I think the Chiefs are still not quite rated appropriately because they are the Kansas City Chiefs. They've won 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years. They made the Super Bowl last year. Their team is only getting better. They're getting healthier. Patrick Mahomes is starting to look really good this year. He made some amazing plays last week. And the Jags, they're going to give you some chances to win the game. And not only win the game, but cover the game. They like to turn the ball over. I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. And then what's the total points going to be? Let's say they win 28-20. So 48 points. Let's do that. Not 487. That's a lot. Okay, so that's my picks for the week. Let's check how you guys did. If you guys have not joined our group, you got to go to the Ruxin Sports group, where I am in 5th place. Not too bad in my own group. 26 people in here. Make sure you guys get in here. There's 26 of you technically, but some of you guys haven't made picks. So make sure you make your picks. And you guys can compete with me. Let's see who did the best in week 4. I was tied for 2nd. Not bad. ZZZ pick 1 and Jay Zucci both had 100 points. Very well. 10 and 6. 30 and 18. Jay, you are absolutely dominating right now. Are you the best in our league right now? 230 and 18s with Pac-Man 3D. You guys are doing really, really well. We had multiple of us at 90. Pac-Man 3D was 9 and 7. Underrated YouTube picks. ESPN 54, Ruxin, and Red Wing, and OVO all had 90 points. Let's see how Atlanta Fan did. Where's Atlanta Fan? 80 points. So you went 8 and 8. Nice and even. Okay, this week we have less picks. There's not 16 because there are bye weeks this week. So guys, get your picks in. Join the group. It doesn't matter if you necessarily haven't done all the weeks because we missed week 1. I usually just check that most recent week because like a lot of you guys weren't even here for week 1. I wasn't here for week 1. You weren't here for week 2. etc. So make your picks for week 5. I'm going to have that link down below if you guys haven't joined yet. Make sure you subscribe to the Ruxin Sports channel if you want to see anything else in terms of discussions about the tush push, discussions about overtime rules, whatever you want to see. I can make some videos. Might have some collabs coming up potentially for this channel. So if you've enjoyed it so far, make sure you hit subscribe, hit that like button, and leave your comments down below. I want to see you guys' thoughts about the NFL season so far and what other content we can do. See you guys next time. Peace.